legislation that originally people opposed. You get this happening by public pressure. And I really believe that politicians will not see the light until they feel the heat. And part of my approach is lay out good ideas and start applying public pressure to members of Congress of both parties to get things done. We did it in San Diego. I mean, take a look at most of the ideas that we laid out. When we first released them, they were always opposed. And if you take a look at the course of time of reform in San Diego, the vast majority of what we proposed actually got put into law on the basis of Democrats and Republicans coming together to get it done. They didn't want to do it originally, but we forced them to do it because the public saw a solution and said, you guys keep fighting, and yet there's a solution right here. Why don't you implement this? Yeah. If you do have a better idea, come up with a better idea.
Now, does your solution also include referencing the personal PACs that they have?
I think so. I think what we the only reform we have right now in the plan, as we are developing it, we're adding additional reforms. But the requirement is that they disclose any perks that they're getting out of these campaign committees.
But right now they're allowed to have their own personal PAC, which is a giant slush fund, right?
And they're allowed to pay for things saying that they are it's campaign related. So
yeah,
under our reform package, we're requiring that members disclose fully any travel, any golf outings, any gifts that they are receiving by virtue of, quote, campaign organizations, which would include their PACs.
So people can...
We ban, under the Fix Congress First, we ban all free travel. So right now,
what's that?
Free travel for members of Congress.
Oh,
they go off to junkets. So just in August alone, August is their recess period, members of Congress accepted $1.7 million in free travel junkets in 1 month alone. It was like one of the biggest tallies that they ever had. So under my Fix Congress First plan, I say no more free junkets. If they want to go on a fact-finding mission, they have to get a vote of the House members to establish the legitimate purpose of the trip, and it has to be through a nonprofit. They get lobbyist money through nonprofits to subsidize these trips, and they say, well, we're off, you're having a policy conference. They show up to the policy conference for an hour, and then they have fun events for these members of Congress for the rest of the trip.
Well, if you go visit your property, I have a property down the Gulf Coast. If I fly there and I go visit for 1 hour and a 7-day period, I can't cross the whole 7-day trip.
Right.
So
the IRS
why are they exempt? I mean, you have the city of Port Authority. I've been reading about those articles where the lady in charge.
They make the laws. That's why they're
she's flying over.
First class travel on taxpayer dollars.
Yeah. I mean, well, yeah, but they're going over there and they're bringing back a bunch of money, and well, you flew coach, you probably get the same result.
Right. Well, and the question I have is, what are you really bringing back? You claim that you're bringing back a bunch of money. So
I think
no one is going to like this. No one's going to like this plan. I can tell you that. I mean, the members of Congress aren't going to like it.
No.
But
when
we proposed eliminating subsidies for politician pensions, they all opposed it. When we said you ought to go into a 401k, benchmark to the local labor market, they all opposed it. And eventually we actually shamed them into accepting some of these reforms on their own and then ultimately imposing them at the ballot.
Next question, just for clarification.
Yeah.
For the Senate and the House, how many of you have to work to get what percentage of it? High 3, like I'm hoping the government should get a high 3 based on my high 3, not overtime, but it's like 34%.
Members of Congress get a pension, they get a 401k, and they also get Social Security. And so what I'm proposing is that we put them into a system of Social Security and we benchmark their 401k against the average of what the constituents in their district receives.
No benefit. What's their pension currently? I mean,
they have a congressional pension program.
But isn't it minimum of 2 or 4 years, some small amount?
I think there's a 5-year vesting period for them, and
like no other.
The other members who've served longer actually have a different type of retirement system. But we want to make sure that members of Congress receive no better benefit than the people that they represent. The other thing is we are proposing to eliminate double dipping. So my opponent, Scott Peters, like all the members of council, took a pension right after he left office. There's no retirement age for them. Immediately they get a pension right when they walk out. So the youngest pensioner in the city, 32 years old. Second youngest, 35 years old. These are city council members that are walking out.
The federal government, if you go you have 5 years that you can't draw until you're like 62.
And that's not the city of San Diego. So
Yeah.
Peters has now received, since he left, $100,000. And so he's part of what we call the Double Dippers Club. He gets a salary and he gets a pension. What we're proposing is that if you're a member of Congress and you get a government pension, that your congressional salary is debited by that amount, so that you're not earning as a public servant more than the salary, the regular salary for a member. Hi, hey, guess what I have in my car? I have the Hello Kitty, let's see. Hey, sweetheart.
Yeah, I didn't even know. I like got home and I'm like, we live here.
Is this
yeah,
where
we're
you guys
here
live?
and we got home and I'm like, Carl.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I was down there and she comes in the door. She's like, "He's here?" I'm like, yeah, she.
Oh gosh. So Sophia was born in August, right?
On the day Bob told me every time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So did you name him Bob?
Oh, so cute. Oh my God. No. You don't want to talk to me. You want to meet this one. Anyway, so it's going to be a heavy dose of reform. I know that members of Congress aren't going to like it, but I like the challenge, and I think the public is on our side on this.
Any polls out yet for you and
I carried the district by 16 points in 2012, which is great because the best poll is actual votes. And so people worry about Obama wave. I'm okay. Bring it. We did that in the Obama wave. But the latest polls that we've seen, again, have tipped me up 10 points, 14 points, 12 points. Even the Democrats polling shows that we're up about 10 points.
Good. When's the actual election day?
November.
In November.
November 6th?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's only going to get worse for the Democrats as Obamacare comes to fruition for a lot of people.
Yeah.
what's the real story with Obamacare and members of Congress and their requirement to be?
They like to deny that they get special consideration, but they do. They were supposed to be put into exchanges and treated no differently under the law. And the law says that if you are in an exchange, you are not allowed to receive an employer subsidy. The law is very clear. What did the members of Congress do? They gave themselves employer subsidies.
It was in reverse, right?
No, they did not reverse
I
it.
thought they got forced into one of the bills.
No, they've not reversed it. So it's disappointing that, again, they have an opportunity that if they want to, if they think it's such a great idea, they should be compliant with the law fully. And if they don't think it's a good idea, then why don't you reform it for the rest of us, just like you've reformed it for yourself?
Sure.
I mean, it's hypocrisy, and you have members that refuse to respond to the fact that people are losing their insurance that they prefer, that they were happy with. The president, Scott Peters, said, if you like your insurance, you can keep it. We now found out that that was a lie. That's not true. And they're not doing anything to fix that problem. You have doctors that are leaving certain plans. And so people are finding out that their favorite doctor is no longer available to them. And then, of course, the skyrocketing costs. The premiums have gone through the roof. And deductibles are going through the roof.
Ours went up.
Yeah. I lost my insurance and my deductible went up. So,
I always manage to show that one in the paper or whatever online, that one couple that could benefit, and it represents, in their minds, a lot of people with
you're finding that this is a complete disaster, and what I'm concerned about is that both political parties are treating this as a political issue rather than what it really is, which is this is a serious issue. We've had a healthcare crisis in this country where people were not able to get insurance, no affordability, the skyrocketing costs of coverage and of medicine. And instead of dealing with those problems, those root problems of waste, fraud, and abuse, frivolous lawsuits, insurance companies are making a big buck, tort attorneys that sue and get big lawsuit
That should have been the
payments.
first thing they fixed.
Instead of dealing with the cost crisis in healthcare, they said, no, the healthcare system is fine. What we need is more people putting money into that system. Obamacare is built around the whole concept that you just get more people to put money in, and so they mandate that you have to put money in. And everyone has to buy. There's an individual mandate, an employer mandate, there's a penalty on your taxes that goes into the system. And my view is you have to fix the root cause, which is the skyrocketing cost of the healthcare system. Under Obamacare, the big health insurance companies still get their profits. They're taken care of. And there's actually a bailout. If their profits go below a certain percentage or point, the Obamacare law bails them out. So you thought Wall Street bailouts were bad? These guys are standing for a bailout. The tort attorneys got no tort reform, no frivolous lawsuit reform. And so they're taken care of. So you see, time and time again, the people benefiting from a broken healthcare system, under Obamacare, both political parties have made sure that they're taken care of. And the rest of us are left with all the ill effects of it. So I think that this is a huge issue, and Republicans have not yet laid out a positive, credible replacement. And that's what I want to see happen, is if you don't like an idea, you can vote no, that's fine. But what would you do differently? What's your solution to it? And I don't care if you're Democrat or Republican, if you don't provide a solution to that problem, then you're not governing, you're not leading. And that's, my approach has always been, lay out a solution and then challenge someone else to come up with something better. If you don't like this, then come up with something of your own. It's a long answer, but I feel passionately about this issue.
Yeah.
It's such an important issue for us to deal with in the next year to 2 years.
What's your strategy for dealing with that? Assuming you'll be elected.
A swift kick in the rear end to Republicans.
When's
Swift kick in the rear end to Republicans, and trying to see if we can convince Democrats to come on board to common sense solutions. So if you strip the party label off of an idea and just say, well, do you think that we ought to reform frivolous lawsuits? 70% of the American people agree with going to a you sue, you lose, you pay system. How about allowing people to buy insurance across state lines? You can buy life insurance across state lines, why not health insurance? 70% of the American people believe that we should be able to buy health insurance across state lines. Health insurance companies don't, because they love their monopolies. Their lobbyists get in there and they prevent, these sorts of changes from happening. So I'm trying to get us to a point where we're laying out simple, very popular ideas that will have a profound effect on the system, and then shaming the politicians into voting on this.
In one state, I think in Vermont and New Hampshire, they only have one insurance company in the whole state.
Yeah.
I forget which one that
You're
was.
not gonna get competitive pricing and good quality if you have a monopoly. And that's unfortunately where we're headed for this.
So you think politicians still have a sense of shame?
I think that we're getting to a point where more and more of these elections are becoming competitive, which I love, even within the political parties, because there's a growing discontent in this country on both sides of the political games. And so you see that the fastest growing political party in this country is none of the above, the independent party, which I think is a great development, because these individuals are forcing the parties to have to reach out to solutions and to win those votes over. I think that's a good development. It's not going to happen overnight, but if we don't decide to fight for our government and fight for these changes, then it's only going to get worse. I'm talking to people all the time, and they're hungry for this. They want to see these sorts of changes. If they're informed, I think they come on board. My biggest concern is always the low information voter.
Right.
Which was too many on one side of the fence.
Too many.
Yeah. I'm so frustrated by our inability to reach those folks and get beyond the party labels. I talk to so many people who just vote on party label with very little information other than the politics.
One website calls them sheeple.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forget what website it was, but
We just have to do a better job of getting our message out. And so we're trying different avenues. Social media, we're doing a lot of that because we think that that's going to be probably our best way to reach people who don't read the newspaper.
Unfortunately, people who are benefiting the low information voters with Obamacare are getting us to pay for their health insurance, other things. So they're going to vote that way no matter. There's no way you're going to get that 47%.
Yeah.
Too big of a population is all to their advantage for them to vote along the same lines as they would be. So getting an extra 5 or 10%, those guys in the middle who think they owe something to that side, but we should pay more taxes because, I'm doing well, so we owe it to them. That kind of mentality, which is unfortunate. Okay, I think my taxes are big enough out of me.
Who would you like to see run against Hillary for president?
Bill.
Pardon?
Bill. That'd be an interesting fight.
But you can always become a conservative, that could be.
I have no idea who's gonna run in the Democrat side.
I'm talking about
don't,
Republicans.
I think that,
It's
assume
probably,
she-
we're
yeah.
assuming it's gonna be Hillary.
Well, I
I'm
assume
assuming.
that, on the Democrat side, that she's gonna have a challenge.
Unless something from Benghazi comes out, which I think they might be holding back on that.
I think that 2016 is a lifetime away in
Yeah.
politics. We'll see. We'll see who ends up running. My hope is that Republicans who are running for president start recognizing that you can't beat something with nothing. You can't just criticize the other side or other candidate and demonize them. If you want to win, you have to offer a positive vision. I don't think that that was done last time in 2012 by either side. And so people defaulted to the evil they know versus the evil they don't know about. You know, they don't know what Romney was going to do on important issues. I'd like to see a Republican talk passionately about the environment and education and healthcare and homeless issues. These are things that people care about, but rarely hear anything said about it. I'm excited about being the first, or the only Republican who will represent an urban district in the country. All the other Republicans represent suburban and rural areas. This district has downtown. And so I will be the only Republican with a large urban core downtown.
That's
And
incredible.
so I'll be talking about issues ranging from homelessness to bikeable, walkable, livable communities, transit. These are all issues where Republicans don't really have a whole lot of policy ideas and solutions, but we can fill that back. Environment. I started something called the Environmental Performance Institute in 1998. And the whole concept is, yes, we want to protect the environment. How do we do this in a thoughtful way? How do we measure the results and hold government and private industry accountable for achieving environmental outcomes? How do we redesign our approaches? Because technology is changing so much that a regulation may no longer be relevant. It may not be as effective as it could be if we start embracing different technologies. So I'd love to start talking about performance-based environmentalism and get Republicans to start embracing ideas along those lines. When was the last time a Republican really talked passionately about school competition and choice and quality teachers? I believe that our best teachers should get a higher salary.
Carl, may I have a
Yeah.
statement? Less than 10 months ago, Diane Sawyer was over there in China to study all the top 50 high school quality in the world. The top 50. What did USA finish in terms of the top 50? Do you know the numbers?
In terms of which?
40-something.
In terms of the quality, in terms of the standing.
Oh, top 50 countries, you mean?
Top 50 students, top 50 high school students. Here's the result of the quality of the USA high school students.
Dead last.
50 participate. USA finished, do you know where? 48. That was from Diane Sawyer, not from me.
Who's 49, who's 50?
China finished 1, 2, 3, and 7. Shanghai #1, way #1. Hong Kong, even Great Britain. Finland is #4. Finland's tough. Switzerland, Great Britain.
Well, unions,
Top 10.
you can't fire a teacher, they don't want to be
And
tested.
and that's where, you know, I think that we need to start
Really
out
have that great a quality of high school levels. Look at that, China finished top 3, out from nothing. And another topic, in terms of public transportation, now we are paying several dollars per gallon of gas. The lowest price of a 4-wheel is about 20,000, the lowest. A Fiat, a Volkswagen. Governor Brown was over there with the top public transportation expert in China a few months ago, studying the public transportation, the high-speed bullet train. In 1986, I was there too. I was a traffic engineer. So from London and Cambridge. Governor Brown said, how did you do it? But they have done it. And I traveled back and forth. I said, well, marvelous. Some of them, they were not my brainchild, but some of them my suggestion 30 years ago. I left it on paper.
You need to send me an email with all your ideas. It sounds like you're smart.
And also the top, you know what the top speed is? on the fucking China bullet train?
200 miles an hour.
Huh?
200 miles an
The
hour.
bullet train that we're building in California?
Oh, no, you're talking about California? Or
No, China, China.
I'm guessing 200